Oh, Captain, my Captain. We just saw Captain Marvel. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello, YouTube surfers. Welcome to Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and today we're going to be talking about Captain Marvel together. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. Captain Marvel, the newest entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is pretty damn cool, and here's why. When it comes to origin stories, even the folks at Marvel can be hit and miss. That's just how it goes now with superhero origins. With Captain Marvel, I think they've got a hit on their hands, and even though it's simpler and a bit more, dare I say it, down to earth than something like Black Panther or Doctor Strange, it still holds up. It still introduces the character in a great way. And it still has a little bit of world building thrown in there to, further the story and plant some seeds for some sequels. So I think Captain Marvel sort of covered all the bases as far as an origin story is concerned. Now, this movie is made a little bit differently than typical Marvel movies. It's made in a much more kind of scattered kind of way. And there's a reason for that, because Captain Marvel herself is kind of a scattered kind of lady. She has some memory issues that she has to deal with. And sort of the crux of the movie, her arc in the movie, is uncovering those memories and then dealing with what they mean for her. So if the opening, 3/4 of the film have a sort of Memento-ish vibe to them, that's okay. Don't worry. That's just part of the ride, baby. That's just what they're taking us down, because they want to sort of put us in the shoes of Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel. There's a big distinction there. And sort of take us along this journey through her memory with us. One interesting thing to note about Captain Marvel is, I think, of all the superhero origin stories that we've gotten in the MCU so far, this one might introduce the least amount of new characters, which is not a complaint at all. It's just something that I realized after watching it. I'm like, okay, so we have Captain Marvel herself, we have Jude Law, we have a character named Maria Rambeau and a couple other members of the Star Force. But for the most part, a lot of the big players in this film are returning characters, whether it's Nick Fury or Agent Coulson or Korath the Pursuer or Ronan the Accuser. They're all just sort of returning, and I like that. I like that it's like a nice little mix of old and new. It is, after all, a prequel set in the 1995 era, so it makes sense that we'd have some older characters thrown in there and maybe not so many new ones yet. And I stress the yet because Captain Marvel leaves a lot of room for expansion. It's a very galactic movie, just like Guardians of the Galaxy was. It just happens to sort of be a flip on Guardians. Instead of a movie about a guy from Earth thrust into space and having adventures in space, this one is about a girl who's, when we meet her, from space, and then she's thrust to Earth and has adventures on Earth. So I like that they sort of flip that idea on its head, and even though we know Captain Marvel is going to return and probably have more adventures in space, that was a nice little change of pace. So, points for that. When it comes to new characters, though, the standout character for me, by far, was Talos the Skrull, played by Ben Mendelsohn. I gotta talk about this character and the Skrulls in general. Without going into any spoilers, I won't spoil anything here. I can't stress enough how we have to keep giving Marvel props for creating characters who look like what they're actually supposed to be. The Skrulls are flawless in the way they look. Like, if you've ever read a comic that had a Skrull in it, and you know what a Skrull looks like, that's exactly how they look here. They've got the green eyes, they've got the goblin pointy ears, they've got those weird chin thingies. Like, it's all there. It's exactly like the Skrulls just leaped off the page. And we all know that if this movie had been made, 15, 20 years ago in like the early 2000s, and a character had to be a Skrull, we know whoever was making those movies at that point would have just been like, let's have them be in a human form the whole time, and then towards the end of the movie, when we reveal that that's a Skrull, we'll have them have like glowing green eyes or something, or maybe we'll give them some prosthetic ears that look a little bit pointy. Now we get Skrulls, plain and simple, and they look terrific. They're just excellent. Makeup on the Skrulls, Mwah, I loved you so much. Thank you. Thank you for doing what you did, makeup department. And Ben Mendelsohn, as the Skrull Talos, was such a joy to watch. He ended up being my favorite character. I thought my favorite character was going to be Captain Marvel, and she was really damn cool. But Talos just surprised me with how awesome he was and how much fun his character ended up being. And Ben Mendelsohn has just become so great at playing these big villain characters. He's the man now, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to villains. He's the go-to villain guy in Hollywood. And you know what? I'm gonna make a bet right here. I'm gonna put money down. I bet you anything at all, Ben Mendelsohn is going to be cast as the bad guy in Indiana Jones 5. I lock it in, baby. I guarantee it. It's too perfect not to do. I mean, you can just picture him. You can hear his voice right now being like, "Hello, Dr. Jones." Like, you can just picture him being some, like, slimy Nazi or, like, evil archaeologist or something. Like, he's gonna be the villain in Indiana Jones 5. Hands down. I'm betting all my money because I know what's happening. There's all my money. 4 cents. So back to Captain Marvel. It does justice to the Skrulls, yes, but does it do justice to her? That's what's important. This is our first female-led movie in the MCU. Does it do justice to this lady right here? And I think the answer to that question is an emphatic yeah, baby. Because Captain Marvel is just, like herself, the character, Carol, is a cool lady. They made her interesting. They made her funny. They made her likable. Now, one thing that really impressed me when it comes to her involves her powers. And what I mean by that is this. I haven't read a single comic that had Captain Marvel in it. I don't know anything about what her powers are, what her limitations are, but I know she's supposed to be pretty strong. Like, she's one of the most powerful people out there. She's like quasi-Superman level, if not, on par with him. So she's OP. She's an OP kind of lady. And one thing I was worried about was when you have a character who is OP, you might fall into a trap and make them, too powerful, just too unbeatable, too unstoppable. On Rebel Scum podcast, I have to keep up with all the Star Wars stuff so we can talk about it on the show. And I've been keeping up with the Star Wars comic books. And in the Star Wars comic books, they like to include a lot of Darth Vader. Darth Vader's in those comic books a lot. And Darth Vader's a powerful dude. And in the comics there, they make him almost too powerful. Like, they go a little bit overboard sometimes where he can, like, pick up a mountain and there's, like, 800 guys shooting at him and he just throws the mountain at them and he's not scratched at all. Like, sometimes they go too far and it's like, guys, come on. There's a human being in there. Like, he has limits. And I was worried that Captain Marvel was going to fall into the same trap, that she was just going to be too like, I'm unstoppable, burn, burn, burn. But that never, ever happened once. She was always really powerful throughout the whole movie. Like, there was never a question, like, if she's in the room, she's like a ticking time bomb. Like, she could destroy everything in the room. That was always present. That feeling of her power was always present. But at the same time, the threat posed by the bad guys was also always present. You always felt, A, Captain Marvel can mess shit up if she wants to, and B, the bad guys are a serious, genuine threat and she needs to stop them because they could cause serious problems. So they walked that line very, very well. And if I can only bestow one compliment, only one, on this motion picture, it's that. That is, as far as I'm concerned, an achievement of writing. That is an achievement of filmmaking where you have this character who needs to be both exceptionally powerful but exceptionally human and tell a good story with stakes, with her at the center of it. That's not easy, boys and girls. Holy cow. Just saying it out loud made me intimidated right now. But the people behind this, there's like 6 writers to this movie, which shocked me. But somehow those 6 writers pooled their resources together and they made the film work with the character that it stars and with the plot that it shows us. It all carries itself forward and none of it feels too one-sided. It never feels like she's too weak or she's too powerful. It's just the right amount of everything. So that, if anything else, if I can only recommend Captain Marvel for one reason, it's for that. That is a fantastic accomplishment, and I think everybody who worked on the storytelling aspect of Captain Marvel should be very, very proud of themselves. So now, of course, I can't wait to see her in Avengers Endgame, because we know that's happening, and I can't wait to see her in Captain Marvel 2, Electric Boogaloo, because we all know that's happening too, and frankly, I'm excited for that. It's more cosmic adventures, more crazy outer space shenanigans with this lady. But anyway, that is Captain Marvel. It is a very solid entry in the MCU, and I'm very happy that it turned out as good as it did. Thank you so much for watching this review, and remember, if you like adventure and science fiction just like Captain Marvel, maybe you would do well to check out my book, Side Scroller, which is available now on Amazon. You can get it in paperback or in Kindle format. This is a science fiction romance adventure set in a world that runs entirely on video game logic. I know that's a mouthful, but trust me, this book was a lot of fun to write, and I'm sure it's even more fun to read. Pick up a copy now. Support a struggling, starving author. Side Scroller. It's good stuff. I promise. So that has been Thumb Together. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Andrew Fantasia. I will see you here next time, and until then, adios.